TV. Oh yeah. Unale we pledge with love and loyalty to we sweet mama salute. Now we all come together as one. For tomorrow, now we go make salute. Anytime where you there, it no matter. Anytime where you be, it no matter. Anything you they do, it no matter. Oh yeah, it no matter. Now we putting up stronger one. Inside Sierra Leone, like a big quantity. Where breeze not a shade. TPP TV, talking points platform. Then they give you information about salute. Tune TPP TV.
Good evening and welcome to Talking Point platform. This is the program Health Corner. Remember, Talking Point platform is your home of entertainment and education. In today's program, we will be discussing diarrhea in children. According to United Nations and the World Health Organization, diarrhea is the second biggest cause of death in children in low-income countries, second only to pneumonia. Diarrhea accounts for 15% of death worldwide in children under 5 years of age. That is approximately 760,000 to 1.5 million deaths per year. Despite huge effort by UNICEF and World Health Organization, diarrhea is still prevalent in low-income countries. In today's program, we've invited Dr. Yulia, a specialist in children's diseases. Dr. Yulia has a vast knowledge in clinical practice in children's diseases spanning for more than 18 years and has also taught in Kyrgyzstan, Central Asia, two most prestigious medical universities. Good evening and welcome to the program, Doctor.
Good evening, Dr. Alpha. And I'm so much glad that you invited me. I really appreciate your invitation. It's a big honor for me. And as you said already, we will introduce today the topic of diarrhea in children, and it's most common problem in childhood. And as you said, awful statistic, it actually takes life of the children each year and great number of the lives. For example, by the report of WHO, World Health Organization, there is 1.7 billion children died affected by the disease, by the diarrhea, and it lead to the crucial consequences. And that is why we decided to raise this topic. And what is most sad is that we can prevent this development of the complications of diarrhea and even death of the children, because it's pretty preventable and pretty treatable problem.
We are so much grateful, Doctor, for your presence on this program and for your expertise. In about a minute's time, Doctor, we will go into the topic proper, and you will be explaining to us, for a start, what is diarrhea. But firstly, we want to show our viewers a short video made by UNICEF TV from a few years ago talking about diarrhea.
You're watching UNICEF television. Fewer than 40% of children in developing countries get adequate treatment when they contract diarrhea. As a result, more children die of the disease than of AIDS, measles, and malaria combined. Every year, an estimated 1.5 million children die of dehydration, poor nutrition, or a compromised immune system associated with diarrhea. But the disease is rarely acknowledged as the leading killer it is.
It's a disappointment to many of us that diarrhea has slipped so much, given that it is such a huge factor in child survival. And it's a bit of a mystery as to why that has happened. And of course, other diseases have come in and caught the spotlight. And what it means is that the spending on the ways to reduce diarrheal disease is completely disproportional to its impact.
A new report from UNICEF and the World Health Organization presents a 7-point plan to reduce reduce the burden of diarrhea, particularly in developing Africa and South Asia. The report highlights the use of oral rehydration salts and zinc to combat dehydration. Oral rehydration salts, one of the major medical advancements of the 20th century, have been improved. Recent data shows that when coupled with zinc, their rehydration power is significantly boosted. But zinc is still largely unavailable in the countries that need it. The same is true of a new vaccine that has the potential to eliminate the main cause of the disease, the rotavirus vaccine.
It's affordable by our standards, but it is a rather expensive vaccine when you talk about the millions of children that will need it in India and Bangladesh and Ethiopia. So there is definitely a cost involved, and so donors will need to step up to the plate to ensure that the funding is there.
Other measures to reduce diarrhea, like promoting breastfeeding and hand washing, are already in place and need to be scaled up. Still others, improving water supply and sanitation infrastructure, demand more financial investment. It's an investment we can't afford not to make. I'm Elizabeth Keim for UNICEF Television, Unite for Children.
Doctor, this short clip shows a very, very shocking reality from a few years ago, and the truth is same today, that diarrhea is indeed killing millions of children worldwide. So that begs the question, what is diarrhea? In the most simplest of terms, explain to me and all viewers, what is diarrhea?
By definition, diarrhea is a passage of the 3 or more times loose or liquid stool per day. And the definition changed by years, unfortunately. And what is the final version? It's 3 and more times stool per day, and it will not be formed stool, but liquid stool per day. And of course, we need to look at the individuals, at the age of the child and at the individual's stool, daily stool of the child. But by definition, it's 3 and more times and liquid or loose stool. And diarrhea by itself, it's not disease. We cannot tell that it's disease. Diarrhea is just sign, symptom of many conditions. It can be sign of the infection of intestinal tract. It can be sign of some functional condition of intestinal tract. We can treat it as not separate disease, but just a sign, just a symptom of the many conditions. And sometimes we need to make additional investigation to understand what's going on and how properly we can help to our patient.
All right, doctor. Thank you very, very much. I know, as you said, the definition keep changing from time to time, but you made mention of watery or loose stool. And then we are having sometimes people who are having frequent stool. They are going to the toilet more often than usual, but they are passing a very hard stool. The stool is not loose, it's not watery. Can this also be classified as diarrhea?
Okay, again, according with the modern definition, we cannot define as a diarrhea the condition when we have frequent stool but formed. If the stool is formed, we cannot define it as a diarrhea. What does it mean, liquid or loose stool? It means when you, for example, collect the stool in some utensil, it takes the shape of the utensils. It means it fills utensils as itself. But if it's formed, it doesn't, it has its own form. It means diarrhea is a condition when we have and open and loose liquid stool. And if it's formed, just formed but frequent, we cannot define it as a diarrhea. Also, it depends from the age, because small kids, they have more often stool, more often than more elder children or adult. And such a pasty stool of breastfeed child, we cannot define as a diarrhea. It's the features of the feeding and the features of the intestinal tract in the age.
All right, Pastor. Thank you so much, Doctor. And then I know there are different types of diarrhea, different kind, classification. Can you help us with that?
Yes, we actually can learn from the WHO documents that they classified diarrhea on 3 types. First type, it will be acute watery diarrhea, which is common for cholera, for example, or for the viral diarrhea. And they classified also on acute bloody diarrhea, which is common for dysentery. And the third type, it's persistent diarrhea, which is persists or which is keeps during 14 days and more. But in the simple way, probably we do not need to know the official classification always, especially if we are not medicals. But for the simple knowledges which we can keep with us, we can just classify diarrhea on acute and on chronic. Acute is diarrhea which keeps during 14 days, and more than 14 days we define as a chronic.
All right. So basically, non-medical personnel, there is no such need for them to understand in details the difference. Only that acute is within 14 days, and chronic, if you are having this watery or liquidy stool for more than 2 weeks. Yes.
Yes, you are correct. And probably we can add here the definition. What does it mean acute? Acute, it means it's a fresh process which happened recently and which proceeds bright and suddenly. Yes, we defined it as acute process. And chronic, which already proceeds for the long period of time and leads to the exact changes in the organism of the person.
Okay. Doctor, we've watched the video, and in my opening statement, I made a reference to a few statistics, and you made reference also about the statistics. We know diarrhea kills more than malaria, measles, and even HIV combined together. It's about 15% of child deaths worldwide. That begs the question, what is causing diarrhea in children? What is the cause of diarrhea in children?
And I can back to my initial definition that diarrhea is just sign, symptom of the different condition. And we will talk with you only about common conditions, which necessary to take in attention. And acute diarrhea commonly caused by the viral infection. And we name it viral gastroenteritis. And most common virus, in this case for the small kids, it's rotavirus. Probably you heard in the video the vaccination against of the rotavirus. And because it's so common thing for the kids under than 5 years old. And of course, it can be caused by bacteria. We also mentioned with you right now the Shigella bacteria, which cause dysentery. And also it can cause by parasites, which lives in our intestinal tract. And chronic diarrhea can be caused by the inflammatory bowel diseases, which has no any connections with the acute infection, or it can cause with the dietary intolerances. For example, probably you heard now it's pretty actual topic also, lactose intolerance or milk protein intolerance. And it can be functional diarrhea. For the small kids, it can be functional diarrhea. For the very early age and even for the toddlers.
Okay, Pastor. Thank you so much. So basically, in other words, you're saying diarrhea is not a disease on its own. Rather, it's like a symptoms of other diseases like the inflammatory bowel disease, and you mentioned another one also. And basically, microorganisms are responsible for such diseases, like bacteria, virus, and even parasites. Yes.
Right.
All right. So then again, one will wonder. We know now that they have been caused by microorganisms, be it bacteria or viruses and parasites. How can children contract these microorganisms? How can children get into contact with such germs, and then they will all of a sudden manifest these signs of diarrhea?
Of course, today we mainly will take an attention the acute diarrhea, which proceeds by 14 days and which caused by the often viruses or bacteria. And we need to take attention how we can get it. and the child or even adult can get it through the contaminated food or contaminated drinking water. It's the one source, or from person to person, through the personal contact with the infected person, with the lack of the hygienic preventional action.
All right. You mentioned contaminated food, water, but very importantly, you mentioned also like person to person. Do I understand you right? Maybe like through shaking of hands. Is it possible? Person to person transmission. I don't understand.
Right, it's very possible. For example, person who infected already, he has poor hygienic habits, or probably you have poor hygienic habits. And if you will shake the hands of this person and you will take meal after it, of course you will have great chance to get infection.
Okay,
Or
thank you.
you can use the common probably dishes with this person. It's also possible.
Oh, okay. All right. Being that it's this contaminated water and food, and it's safe or correct to say that most of these diarrheal cases takes place in deprived communities, poor communities, and that have little or no access to clean water or good food or proper hygiene and sanitary conditions. Am I correct to say this?
Actually, yes, and sometimes no. Yes.
Yeah, I'm saying the majority of cases, like worldwide
Yes.
cases.
If you will look at the worldwide picture, you're absolutely correct, because we even received confirmation through the UNICEF video, and they said the country of the risk is African countries and South Asia countries, developing countries, or poor developed countries, because they have lack of the water supply, lack of the good water supply of drinking water, and the lack of the medical aid, and lack of the probably education of the people in the matter of the prevention and healthcare. And that is why it's true. But sometimes, if you will take, for example, the rotavirus, which I mentioned only, I would like to say that it's not true. For example, this rotavirus is common for the which is common for the children under 5 years old. It can affect child everywhere, also worldwide spread, even in the good hygienic conditions or not, because this virus lives very long on different surfaces and even in the water, and even in cold climate and in hot climate. That is why it can be common for the good developed country with the good health care, with the good hygienic preventional methods, but yes, it still can be. That is why we have the vaccine about which we heard only. But of course, the risk of the countries who have no good supply, and this is a big deal to bring people the exact information which will help them if something will happen with their health, how they can protect themselves and how they can protect their lives if they got sick.
All right. So listeners and viewers, you heard, even though diarrhea is more prevalent in low-income countries, deprived communities, it's possible to get it anywhere, whether you are living in a developed country or even sometimes when you observe proper hygienic rules. So we have to watch out and be careful. My next question will be, I know you've said diarrhea in itself is not a disease. Rather, it's sort of like a symptoms, a manifestation of some other causes, like the inflammatory bowel disease you mentioned. But still, I know diarrhea has its own signs and symptoms, if you like. It have its own way of manifesting itself. Can you explain to us, if somebody is suffering from diarrhea, what are these signs and symptoms, this manifestation, these pains and agony this person will feel, and which one of these ones is the most dangerous one and why?
Thank you for this question. It's really important question for our today's discussion. And we give definitions that diarrhea is a liquid and often stool per day. But of course, diarrhea it's only one of the signs of the disease, and it can be accompanied with another signs, or diarrhea can lead to another manifestations as well. And I will pay your attention on the several groups of the manifestation which can have person who has diarrhea, and besides liquid stool and often stool. And one of the signs, it can be intoxication. For example, if it's about viral infection, if it's about bacterial infection, person can have signs of intoxication. What does it mean? Person will have fever, and sometimes it's high-grade fever, which proceeds several days. Person can be weak. Person will have undesire to eat something. Will just lose his appetite. It's the signs of intoxication. Second signs, second group of signs, it will be signs of GT irritation. Diarrhea can be accompanied with the abdominal pain, with the meteorism, with the nausea, and even with the vomiting. And next group of the signs, which we can define as a special group because we need to take attention on it, is the signs of dehydration. And signs of dehydration, the most dangerous, as you said. Please pay our attention on most dangerous. And signs of dehydration is most dangerous sign. And it can lead even to the death, and especially in the childhood. That is why I would like to attract your attention to the next thing. Imagine you're a parent and you have child which suffers by diarrhea during several days. You need to pay attention on the changes of the behavior of the child and on changes of his physical parameters. But I will tell to you now the most dangerous signs on which you keep your eye. You need to look at the child, especially of very early age, and how he eats. And of course, probably child will not have appetite. But if you have opportunity to check the weight and you know his previous weight, you can see the difference. And if child will lose his weight, it will not be a favorable sign, and which is most probable, yes, in diarrhea, which proceeds several days. Also, you need to control the urination of the child. Usually in dehydration, child has less urination. He just urinated less. Smaller amount and less times. And by dehydration, child can have dry skin, and target of skin will be also very poor. What does it mean, target of skin? You will tell, doctor. What about it's so complicated, probably for medical students. But I will teach you the very easy things how we can check the target of skin. We can take the fold, and I will not show to you on the person now, but it's good to take a skin fold on the abdomen of the child, on the front wall of the abdomen of the child. Take the skin in the fold and keep it for a while, and then remove your fingers and see how many seconds it takes to skin becomes the same before you took it in the fold. And if it's equal to the to the 2 seconds or more than 2 seconds, it's already the thing which can warn you about danger for the baby. It means a baby already lost a lot of liquid, and it's a sign of dehydration which needs probably even professional medical help. It means dry skin, target of skin, sunken eyes. And again, if you remember this video which we demonstrated, we saw the child with the sunken eyes. And sometimes if you have a very small child, it's common for the child cry a lot. And if child suffers due to dehydration, he lost a lot of liquid by diarrhea, he will have cry without tears. It means child will cry, but will cry by the dry cry without any tears. It's also a dangerous sign. Also, we need to take attention that we lost water with the liquid stool, but we lost electrolytes, and child can perform seizure even in the high-grade fever, and due to the loss of electrolytes, child can perform seizures, and it's also a dangerous sign which immediately needs to take our attention and we need to seek medical help. One more thing, excessive vomiting. It can be diarrhea together with the vomiting, and vomiting which you cannot control also needs your special attention. And sometimes in the severe dehydration, child is unable to drink. In the beginning of dehydration, child has thirst. He would like to drink more and he requests you or shows that he wants. But later on, the thirst is decreased and child even is unable to drink. He needs liquid, but he is very bad in it. And all the signs which I only mentioned, it's a dangerous signs. On it, you need to pay your attention and immediately seek professional medical help. And one more reason to seek professional medical help, if you have even more mild signs and symptoms, but you cannot provide good care at home, and you have baby of early age under 5 years old, you also need to seek professional help. Thank you very much. I think probably it was pretty broad, but I hope that we remember some symptoms and signs which needs our attention.
Yeah, thank you, doctor. That was very, very much detailed. I've learned some things, and I believe viewers out there are learning also. They've learned, you've demonstrated your skill and expertise for us. We are so much grateful here at TPP. And so the takeaway will be, if I can paraphrase for you, the most dangerous signs to look out for there will be diarrhea and this dry skin and excessive vomiting and abdominal pain for our viewers and listeners out there.
Yeah, probably I need to pay attention.
Go ahead.
Diarrhea leads to dehydration, and among all the signs, fever and pain, abdominal pain and vomiting, the most dangerous signs is dehydration. It's poor urination, inability to drink, dry skin, poor turgor of skin, sunken eyes. It's most dangerous when we really need to run to the hospital and to seek help.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. And I was reading and doing research and stumbled upon some data in UNICEF about breastfeeding and immunization. Does this help breastfeeding and immunization of children? Does this help to protect these children from diarrhea?
Definitely, yes. It's 2 points which definitely help us to prevent diarrhea in the early childhood. If child is in artificial feeding, he has high risk to get diarrhea. Why so? Because it can lead to the disturbance of the nutrition in the way that we cannot measure often accurately the volume of the meal which we give to the child, and it leads to the malnutrition. Malnutrition is risk to the more often diarrhea or intestinal tract infections in this way. And also in the way when child receive, again, we talking from the opposite point, yes. If child receive artificial feeding, for example, you need to cook it. You need to cook it, and not often can provide the clean source of the water on which we will cook this artificial powders for the child. And that is why, of course, breastfeeding is a great option for us. And it's just healthy and free and absolutely adequate for the children of early age. And I can tell it's blessing for the mother to give only her milk during the first 6 months of the life of child. Of course, after 6 months, we need to give complementary products to the children. We need to cook it in the specific way also, and we need to add in the ration of the child slowly. But before 6 months, I'm sorry, mother can be blessed to give only her milk, and it's great prevention of the intestinal tract infection and diarrhea by itself. And rotaviral vaccine is also a good thing, but as we also heard that it's not good. Each country has its own calendar of vaccination. And this calendar of vaccination how it forms usually from the needs of the country in the matter of infection and from the ability of country to buy this vaccine. And as we heard that rotaviral vaccine is pretty expensive and it's hard to provide for all children. But if parents have opportunity to buy, even it's not scheduled, even it's not in calendar, if you have opportunity to buy and make infection of vaccine against of rotavirus for the baby of early age, it will be also a good thing for your child.
All right, thank you. Well, I believe mothers out there and mothers to be, you've had it. Breastfeeding has enormous benefit, not only helping your child to fight off infection from diarrhea, but so many others. And I think in future programs, is a topic that we will have to deal with, breastfeeding. So it's very important that you put the health of your child first and forget about all the other cosmetic and other issues out there. Breastfeeding is a must, and it's very, very much important to deal with. So we are almost coming towards the end of the program, and how can parents protect their children from getting infected with these germs or bacteria that causes diarrhea? Or what can parents say to their children? Because remember, in the house, at the home, we are able to protect our children, but they can go to school, they can go to playground, they can be outside by themselves in kindergartens. How can we protect our children from diarrheal diseases? At the same time, what are we supposed to teach them?
Thank you very much. This is again very important question, especially in the current condition, in the time of pandemic, because it somehow relates even to the pandemic of COVID-19. We need to teach our child to the hygienic measurements, and we need to teach them from very early period of time. And you said that everything we can protect child at home, but when he will go out, we will not able to do it. That is why we need to teach child to these measures at home. And in very early period of time, we need to just make it natural for the child to wash hands with the soap, to wash hands before meal with the soap, to wash hands after toilet with the soap, to clean after himself, to put things in the correct places, and etc. And especially in the time of pandemic, as I wanted to say, you remember that one of the way how we can be infected by the virus or bacteria, which can lead to the diarrhea, it can be person-to-person contact, which is also dangerous in the current conditions. That is why we need to teach our child to avoid personal contact with the people, unknown people, for example, or people outside of the home, shaking hands and etc. Because it's good and very relevant prevention teaching for our children, even for diarrhea or for the COVID-19.
All right. I just want to also emphasize that hand washing is very, very much important, not only against diarrheal diseases, but so many more infections out there, germs, bacteria. So not only you have to teach your children about this and washing, but even as adults, we can get sick also with diarrhea and so many infections, and COVID-19 also is here. So hand washing, though it seems very simple, I want to tell our viewers out there it's something that is very, very important to do, and it will take you a long way in having optimal health. And also I'll mention that it's also necessary to teach our children to wash their fruits and vegetables food before eating them, because sometimes it can stay in the kitchen and it's already been contaminated by cockroaches and other things, and they will just take it and eat it. So washing of hands and washing of our fruits and vegetables before eating. Doctor, my next question, we've seen and know that UNICEF, World Health Organization, and even local governments right around the globe, they've used enormous efforts and resources to combat diarrheal diseases, but yet still it's more prevalent and killing up to 1.5 million children worldwide per year. What more can they do? What more can they do?
Actually, it's hard to talk by or behalf of the such global organization or even governments of our countries, but WHO and UNICEF, they have strategies how to prevent the diarrhea and other infections, and they keep the strategy, I believe, but sometimes it doesn't work in very proper way how we want, but they have strategy to promote national policies and invest to support management of the diarrhea, and also to support build more sources of the clean and drinking water, and also they support in education, and they need to, I think, to continue to support education of health care workers and also the population in the term of such common problems, health issues as diarrhea. They're doing it, but I think they need to move forward in it and just continue to do it. And also probably what is important thing, what is wishable for us, what we would like to have from our government is probably include in our calendar, national calendars of vaccination, rotaviral vaccine. It will be a great deal, and it will be great support for population.
All right, we can only hope that this huge organization, be it UNICEF, World Health Organization, government, local council, happens to watch this video. We are an upcoming channel running, but we hope that this video will get to them and they will hear you and they will do more and put these recommendations into practice, so we will be able to combat this thing called diarrhea. Doctor, normally on this program, Health Corner, we have a disclaimer. We are not here to profile like treatment plans to people about certain diseases. We are only here to raise health awareness for educational purposes for our audience out there. So we don't like to give solutions about treatment. But me and you know, and I believe many other people out there know, that most of the death with regards to diarrhea occur in deprived communities, low-income countries, very impoverished nations, wherein people are living even to get access to good healthcare facility or pharmacies to buy the oral rehydration salt is very difficult. And let us assume that maybe their child gets sick, and they suspect it has to do with it's something with regards to diarrhea, and then we know there is this oral rehydration salt. They are unable to get access to pharmacy or something, but we know there is this homemade oral rehydration salt. What is your take, and what tips do you have for viewers out there about how to prepare homemade oral rehydration salt, ORS, and what hygienic rules maybe should they follow? Of course, after you will say we have a video also that we can play for them also.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Alpha. You're absolutely correct that we cannot promote any kind of the treatment in such way, in the channels or in the multimedia, but because the treatment should be individual for each person. But of course, we need to know the simple methods which will help us to survive, or which will help to our children to survive in exact situation. And it's very true about diarrhea and about oral rehydration solution, which you mentioned. And commonly, all of us, we have oral rehydration solution in our pharmacy box at our houses, or probably we have it in the pharmacy shop nearby our house. But sometimes it's not like that, you said. Sometimes we have different unexpected conditions, and we need to be ready how to make the solution by ourselves. And I apologize that I cannot show it to you in the screen, but I hope that you will remember it by video. But I will just tell to you what is a oral rehydration solution and how we can cook it in the easy way. Oral rehydration solution is a solution which makes by the clean water, clean is very important word here, and which makes by salt and sugar in proportion. 1 liter of clean water, it's good to boil the water in advance and cool it. And the 6 level teaspoon for the 1 liter of sugar for the 1 liter of the water. Again, 6 level teaspoon and half teaspoon of the salt for 1 liter of the clean water. Again, 6 level teaspoon and half teaspoon of the salt. And the salt and sugar combination is very important, because if you will add more sugar, it will make diarrhea even worse, and will give it to your baby. It will make diarrhea even worse. But excess quantity of the salt also can be dangerous for the health of the child. That is why 6 teaspoons of sugar and half teaspoon of the salt, it's important for 1 liter of the clean water. But if you make the solution a little bit more diluted, it means you will add on this amount of the sugar and salt more water, it will not be bad at all. But you need to keep this combination of the elements of the sugar and the salt. How we will give to our child? If our child is under than 2 years old, for each watery plenty stool, he needs to receive after 1/4, 1/2 cup of the liquid. And if our child is above than 2 years old, it will be half of the cup or till 1 cup of the oral rehydration solution. And probably it's hard to remember, but I just would like that you will support your child each time after watery stool with this oral rehydration solution. If your child can drink, if he has no so bad dehydration that he denies to drink, you need just to give for each watery stool approximately about half of cup. What do I mean by cup? It's big cup, about 250 ml of liquid. And sometimes we have vomiting. We said also in symptoms that we have vomiting, and it's hard to give even ORS to the child who is vomiting. But we need to keep to do it. But we will do it not by cups, but slowly, by teaspoons. It means if child has vomiting, after vomiting, we can give 1-2 teaspoons each 10 minutes. And slowly we will increase till tablespoons and etc. till the moment when child will be able to drink more. This is a very simple advices by the oral rehydration solution. It really can save life of our children. And also zinc was mentioned, but zinc, yes, probably in the later step we can buy and also provide to the child during 14 days after diarrhea, a wild diarrhea.
Thank you so much for that extensive explanation of how to prepare oral rehydration salt. And we have a short video for our viewers out there. It's about 1 to 2 minutes, and maybe we'll probably play it for them also to visualize what you've explained, and then we'll wrap up the program.
Okay.
Um, we've seen that video. We hope that you've learned a lot and that you put it in practice. We are not wishing, of course, for you or your children to get sick with diarrhea. Of course not. Doctor, we are so much grateful here at TPP that you've given us your time and your expertise to come and educate us and our listeners and viewers out there. We are so much grateful. What would be your last word and advice for today's program to our viewers out there?
Dear guests of the program, dear Dr. Alpha, as a doctor, I can wish you only to be healthy, to have a good health. But I would like also to give one small advice in the end. It's good to suppose on our countries, on healthcare system, but it's good to be educated and to be prepared to the different situation in our life. That is why it's just a small advice. It's good to watch again, rewatch the probably short educational video by the science of dehydration, which can be the dangerous science, and probably learn a little bit for yourself. Just remember for yourself how to prepare oral rehydration solution too, and just be equipped in the case you will face a problem in your life. But I wish that you will not face any health issues in your life and you will have a good, strong health. Thank you very much for your attention.
You're always welcome, and we hope to have you very soon again.
Thank you.
All right.
Hopefully.
So, listeners and viewers, you've heard the doctor, and today's main takeaway point are these. Learn how to make this oral rehydration salt. Diarrhea is common, but is yet a very, very leading cause of disease in our children. It kills up to 1.5 million children worldwide. How can we do our best to protect ourselves and our children? Always wash your hands, wash your fruits and vegetables when you want to eat them, and make sure to be hygienic overall. Make sure to be cleaned and drink clean water. Any water you think that has been contaminated, it's better to dash it out and not to drink it. So those are today's main takeaway points. Be healthy, be safe out there. And if you find this program interesting, we urge you to share this program so that other people will learn also what you've learned here today. Follow us on our social media handles. Subscribe to our channel at TPP Leon on YouTube. It's free. TPP Leon on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel. That will help us to grow. Like and follow us here on Talking Point platform on Facebook. Until we meet again next week, stay healthy, be happy. Ciao.